Good afternoon or good morning. Thank you all for joining me today while we dive into our topic, why does my boss ignore me? 5 things I can do to stand out with automation. I feel like this week's webinar title is a little funny, like my boss is trying to send me a message. So hopefully these tips and ideas will be helpful so that we all can get some buy-in and get some work done and become more efficient. So a few housekeeping items like usual. Everybody will remain on mute throughout the duration of today's presentation. But if you have questions at any point, feel free to post them into the questions box and I'll address them at the end. And then slides and screenshots are available upon request. And then this webinar will be recorded, so it will get blasted out to anybody for sharing, and it will also be available through our YouTube site. But I do want to call out, I did include a couple of handouts this week, and if your team is especially interested in records management and records retention, definitely download those resource brochures to help your team be more efficient. So on our agenda today, we're going to be going through methods for cutting costs by eliminating paper. We're going to talk through different ways to import and bring your content into Laserfiche. We're going to talk about eliminating storage and IT costs by moving to cloud, integrating with DocuSign and other applications potentially, and then setting up records retention to reduce liability. So all of this is on our agenda. I do have one other free tip that I snuck in at the end that we'll go through as well. So today's session is really intended for everyone. Anyone who may be looking for ideas to streamline processes or wanting to learn more about Laserfiche and its possibilities. So this is a great webinar for prospects wanting to get to know Laserfiche or anybody who's already using it. So first things first, if you're in an office and it still looks like this, there's definitely a better way. Most people on today's call are current Laserfiche users, and so you already have an idea of what Laserfiche can do, but some people are new. So this webinar is going to give you multiple ideas on how you can use the tools available through Laserfiche to help you easily manage your organization's content and reduce costs, and therefore get rid of some of these file folder cabinets. So first things first, we need to start with implementing an electronic content management platform. I'm pretty partial to Laserfiche, not only because it's what we sell, but also because it's so customizable and it's really great for all different types of organizations and their departments. You can really use it to simplify processes and cut costs in multiple ways. So once you have a system in place, you really need to start scanning in old files. And this can be done many different ways, and we'll talk through the tools again as we go along. But when you're starting to look at your physical records and determining a plan for importing them into Laserfiche or your document management system, there's some considerations that you want to think about first. So this includes knowing if your organization is bound by any records retention rules or regulations. For example, if you're a municipality, a city, or a county, you typically have to adhere to federal and state requirements for maintaining documents for a specified period of time. And so if your answer is yes, we are bound by regulations, then we recommend sorting through some of your existing paper documents and determining what can be purged or what's reached its retention already. This step is important so that your team isn't wasting time and money scanning and importing physical documents that are no longer relevant or no longer need to be maintained. So get rid of it in advance. Go through those paper documents and don't keep anything that is near its retention or disposition date. And get rid of it. Don't spend your time on it. Then, once you've identified how you want to store your files electronically going forward, we recommend scanning those physical records into more of a historical folder or folder whenever possible. And kind of what I mean by this is, let's consider property files. Again, your municipality, you have to store records on addresses, and this includes information on like newspaper clippings, billing details, maps, permits, all kinds of information regarding that specific address. And so when you're designing your Laserfiche system, typically you want to build folders for a lot of that stuff. But again, as you consider scanning in your existing paper content, instead of scanning that into the individual folders as you want your system set up going forward, we recommend just kind of dumping it into a historical folder, scanning it in as a bulk single document instead of multiple individual documents. There's a few reasons why we recommend this approach. One is, how often are you really referencing those files? By scanning in bulk, your scanning process goes a lot faster. So, maybe there are certain individual documents that you need to pull out and scan individually. Go ahead and do that. But for the bulk of that content, you're really not searching for it or pulling it up frequently. So just scan it in bulk. Because you can also run OCR searches within the address file folder. So even if it's in a bulk historical document, you can find what you need. And then if you do scan it in bulk, Laserfiche has tools to make it really easy to split apart those bulk documents into individual documents as needed. So again, if you're scanning in contracts in bulk from 2022, you scan them in as bulk, but then let's say you have to pull up a contract, one of those 2022 contracts. You can just use the tools in Laserfiche to split that individual document apart at that time. So again, you're not spending time doing it up front, you're just doing it as needed. And then if you do scan in bulk, you can still apply retention to that bulk document. We typically just recommend that you apply the longest retention to that bulk document so that you're keeping everything for the necessary amount of time. And then one other key point to why we would recommend doing a kind of historical bulk scan is if you are maybe outsourcing the process or hiring temps to scan this content in. If you scan it in as an individual document, you're saving a lot of money on clerical errors for indexing as well as prepping costs. So it gets everything in your system, it's fully text searchable, and life is great. Within Laserfiche, you can use the easy to use interface either through the desktop client, and you can find everything via text searching or metadata searching, if you do have your documents broken apart. So again, I just wanted to show that this is the desktop application, but you can also do the searching across the web interface as well. So full screenshots are showing the exact same folder structure, just in a slightly different user interface. And then again, up here, you've got your quick search bar, so you can quickly find and search through the text within that folder or throughout your entire repository. So these tools and scanning in bulk, just the OCRing can help cut down searching and retrieval costs. You're not having to scamper up to your file folder cabinet, peruse through, dig through the entire folder structure or the entire folder to find that document. That's the very last page. So again, starting you out with saving you time. But now let's talk about the smart capture tools that Laserfiche has. So as you can see here, there are a few ways to use Laserfiche to help you with importing and capturing your files automatically. I'm not going to demo all of these, but I'll go through and explain what the tools do and how you could use it. So we're going to start with Import Agent. Import Agent is a tool for automatically retrieving files stored within a Windows folder structure and importing them into your Laserfiche repository. The Windows folder structure can be local to the Import Agent machine or stored on a network drive. So thanks, Google, for that explanation. But this tool may be useful if your team already has documents stored electronically within your network. So what you can do is set up an Import Agent profile to comb through those existing folders that you have, and then pair it potentially with workflow to scrape information from the folder path, the document name, or maybe the user that added the document, and use those pieces of information to rename the document as it goes into your Laserfiche repository or apply metadata. Import agent is also a great solution for processing files that your team receives in bulk. So maybe from another application or from users who potentially don't have a Laserfiche license to add content, but still have information that they need to provide for archival to your team. So again, import agent is just set up to monitor network folders and then bring that content into Laserfiche automatically. Import agent, as far as licensing, is bundled into the Laserfiche subscription platforms for both self-hosted and cloud-based solutions if you're on the professional tier or higher. And it can be added on to other self-hosted systems like Avante or Rio. So depending on the licensing structure that you have, you might already have Laserfiche or you can add it on. But again, in the screenshots here, this is my desktop application, so it can be set up to monitor desktops or network folders. And then once I add content into these folders, it automatically imports into Laserfiche and renames according to our standards. So really powerful tool to get content in. So now let's talk about Quick Fields. So Quick Fields is a tool that allows you to build a profile to recognize standardized document types in the system. So once digitized, Quick Fields can recognize what type of file it is and follow the configured profile to extract text or do a database lookup or rename the file and file the document automatically. So as an example, we work with many organizations that scan in check stubs for accounts payable into the system. Check stubs are a standardized document type. So we help the organization build a Quick Fields profile that identifies the document type. So when it gets in, Quick Fields or Laserfiche already knows, hey, this is a check stub. And then it follows a process that we set up. Typically, we use a module called zonal OCR, and that allows us to maybe do add a field to the page or highlight text that's always in a certain area. And then Laserfiche can read that text from the zonal OCR and use that to populate the metadata. And then from there, the system uses the metadata to rename or file the document or kick off, some sort of approval process if necessary. The screenshot here that we're looking at includes a barcode. So Quick Fields can recognize barcodes on documents and use that information to maybe do a database lookup to an Excel document or maybe some other information source to pull back metadata detail relevant to that document type. So we see barcodes used a lot again in accounts payable because sometimes your finance software can print out a check with a barcode on it. And then that barcode allows us to do a database lookup into your finance software and pull back the vendor details or the check details so that we're getting a more accurate result on the content that we're bringing into the system. So Quick Fields is a very powerful tool when it's configured with the right setting to make the document intake process filing quick and easy. So as far as licensing with Quick Fields, again, if you have a Laserfiche subscription platform, either self-hosted or cloud, and you're on the professional tier or higher, all of the Quick Fields functionality, including Quick Fields Agent, is bundled in. Otherwise, Quick Fields can be an add-on to those Avante and Rio systems as well. So if you're interested in this type of functionality or you have a document that you think might make sense for this scenario, definitely reach out to our team and let us know and we can help you out. Laserfiche also has, this is kind of one of their newer capture tools, but they have Laserfiche Smart Invoice Capture, and it's another tool that your team can use. Smart Invoice Capture is a lot like Quick Fields, however, the capture logic is already built out for you. So instead of building a profile for recognizing every vendor invoice, so those standardized document types, like every time you get a Comcast bill, it looks like a Comcast bill, or an AT&T bill always looks like an AT&T bill, the logic is already built out. So Smart Invoice Capture will OCR the document and extract the text, making the capture and invoice routing process even easier. And Smart Capture Invoice is a cloud-based add-on. It can be available to self-hosted systems if you have Rio or a self-hosted subscription-based model, as long as you're using the Laserfiche directory server. So this is something you can add on to your system as well. Additionally, with the logic, here are just a couple of the output tokens that it automatically extracts. So it can automatically find the invoice date, the invoice number, purchase order number, total amount, and vendor ID and name and information. So out of the box, that's what's available to you. Smart Invoice Capture does also offer learning. So as you make changes, so let's say Comcast comes out and they change the formatting on their bill a little bit from year to year. As your team goes through and reviews the results, you do have the ability to help the system learn and give you more accurate results as you go along. So finally, we kind of end up with workflow and integrations or using Laserfiche's API or SDK to simplify your document importing as well. So workflow can be used similarly to quick fields for documents that are already digital in format. And what I mean by that is if you've got a PDF document or a Word document, documents that were always, in digital format. Because typically from those file types, we can extract a layer of text from those documents that's more accurate than any scanned image text extraction would be. And so in scenarios like that, we have the ability to build a workflow that says, hey, when a document is dumped into our intake folder and it's named, XYZ, I want you to extract the text from the document and use tokens to find the text that I'm looking for. So we would never recommend you do this, but an example that's coming to my mind is, again, using that check stub. Well, you can actually use check stub because those are pretty standard. But if you want to have it extract the check number, at the top or the header of the document, typically you'll see a company name, and then immediately following the company name is potentially the check stub, like across the page, or the check number across the page. And so you can build a workflow that says, hey, when you see this text, which is the company name, always extract the number that comes after that. So that's kind of how you use tokens in a really generalized way. So you can do that. Workflow is good in some scenarios, but quick fields is usually going to give you better, more accurate results. So if you're kind of interested in learning about what might be the right fit for your team, definitely reach out to the CDI team. That's exactly why we're here, to help you, get a good solution for your team's needs. But finally, you can also use the Laserfiche Development Toolkit as a great way to connect applications together and potentially have information or documents pulled in from those external applications and archived into Laserfiche. So as you've heard, there's lots of different tools to help you simplify the intake and filing of records within Laserfiche. Setting up a process that saves staff time with one of those Laserfiche tools is sure to get your boss listening. So another option for saving costs could be to look at migrating your self-hosted system to the cloud. So most end users really have no idea what goes into hosting or owning a software solution like Laserfiche. So when an organization deploys a self-hosted version of Laserfiche, there's a lot of other underlying costs that have to be factored in when comparing the overall system costs. So if you're getting a quote for Laserfiche right out of the box, you see self-hosted versus cloud, cloud will probably look like it's a little bit more. But if you take into account that if it's self-hosted, you need a server to install it on, whether that's physical or virtual. You need SQL licensing typically, which is an additional cost. You need network connections, backups, IT staff to manage all of that, storage to house all of your documents. Again, those IT staff to help with upgrades. So getting your system and making sure it's on the latest version, not only Laserfiche, but the server environment itself. And then maybe you're doing MDR monitoring to make sure that your system is secure from any external threats. So all of those things cost additional money and take additional, staff to assist with. And so deploying a cloud solution through Laserfiche makes it easier for small organizations to get a robust system and use the tool set that Laserfiche has without having to pay maybe a third party or somebody else to help you get that cloud system or to get that Laserfiche system. Another great thing about considering a move from your current self-hosted system to cloud is that Laserfiche has a migration utility available. So this tool helps us migrate our users, documents, folders, and permissions into the cloud environment at no additional cost. So moving from self-hosted Laserfiche to Laserfiche Cloud, part of it can be simplified. The tool, however, does not do everything. And so if your team is currently using any Laserfiche automation processes through workflow or forms, those items do need to get reconfigured. And so they would require some additional discovery with our team to help estimate out the efforts on that. But if you are interested in learning more about migrating your Laserfiche cloud self-hosted system to the cloud, definitely follow this path here and download and run the Laserfiche Readiness Assessment tool. And then this is going to tell you how your system stacks up. So whether or not it is compatible with the infrastructure that Laserfiche Cloud has, because even though they function very similarly, some of the activities are different or built a little bit differently so that things have to get reconfigured. So run that tool. It's free. If you need help, definitely reach out to our support team. We're happy to help. So we talked a little bit about integrations when we were discussing the different capture profile options you have. Another easy way to save costs and simplify processes is to implement automation that collects digital signatures automatically. So this way, your paper isn't lost on someone's desk or in an email box. Laserfiche automation can integrate with many different signature providers like DocuSign to collect signatures. And then once the document's been approved for sending, it automatically gets sent out via that signature application. And then once it's been signed by all necessary parties, the integration can be configured to pull the record back into Laserfiche and continue the process. This saves so many people hours, walking the file from one desk to the next. It also saves on postage and bringing the documents into the post office. Saves on envelopes, saves on compliance as you have transparency into who did what and when. And the best part is that you don't have to scan the signed copy back into Laserfiche and kick off whatever the remainder of your process is. So sometimes we hear, DocuSign is too expensive, but they do have different platforms that you can opt into. They also provide pricing based on volume, and in some instances, they do have purchasing contracts available that you can take advantage of. However, if your organization still finds that the application cost is prohibitive, you could definitely look at equally easy to use and compliant solutions such as like PandaDocs or Signex or OneSpan. There's many different options out there. But let's take a look at this process in action. So I'm going to open up. I'm just going to do a quick refresh. And we're going to take a look at a contracts process. So this is using Laserfiche automation tools to kick off a new contract process, and then we have it integrated with DocuSign. So in this scenario, maybe staff internally is saying, hey, I need to kick off a new contract request. So we're going to fill out the necessary information. Your process doesn't have to look like this, but this is just kind of one example. We are going to onboard or some lip balm. I don't know why. It's cold here where I'm at, and so I've been having to heavily apply the chapstick so I don't get chapped lips. So we've got our professional services type. We're going to get $10,111, in lip balm. And so we're going to onboard a new vendor, Burt's Bees. Highly recommend the vanilla bean flavor. It's really good. Again, this process can tie into other websites to query information. You can have different drop downs or metadata fields to collect the information you need to kick off your contract process. And again, this is just one example. I'm going to include some insurance requirements. So we're going to do $555,000 in general liability. And maybe we want to upload a document, maybe we don't. Oops, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and just click submit. And so because this process is automated, we're going to have email reminders go out saying, or email notifications go out saying, hey, we have a new contract we need to review and approve. Otherwise, if your users are already in Laserfiche, maybe they get a notification saying, hey, you've got a new task, take action. In my demo environment, it does spit me out directly onto the task. And so as you can see here, we are doing a contract routing approval. And so Laserfiche is generating the contract template for us to use, but maybe we have a template that was, or a contract that was provided to us from a vendor. And so your process might say, hey, who's this new vendor? Attach the contract, and then it kicks off this routing process. So you certainly don't have to use Laserfiche to generate the document, but you can. I'm going to say draft updated, and I'm going to go through a couple of these approvals pretty quickly because I have a few. And so it's getting sent to each department or user as configured in our automation build. So I'm going to approve that. And so now we're on our final reviewer in this particular process with the departmental manager. I'm going to go ahead and view the contract folder quick, which I can do just by clicking this button. And then it's going to have us sign into the repository since I haven't done that yet. And we'll see that Laserfiche Automation created the folder structure for us. It created a Word document template for us. And it even saved a copy of our initial forms submission. So we can easily see, hey, who kicked this process off and why. So there's that. And then we can preview the Word document, and I'll show you here that anything in the kind of orangey red color is what Laserfiche captured from that form submission to populate our fillable Word document. So again, this is something that Workflow is doing behind the scenes based on the configuration that we told it to do. So I'm going to go ahead and just say manager approved. And so now, because it's gone through all of the appropriate reviewers, this process is automatically going to be sent to DocuSign for signature. And so if I jump over to my email, I'm going to show you just a quick view of what those notification emails look like. So each departmental manager got a notification saying, hey, you've got a new contract to review, and then they can go here and follow this link to open up their task and review the document. But also in my email, I received a DocuSign envelope. So this is going through our test account. So as you can see, it's got this nice header. This is for demo purposes only. But through the integration, you do have the ability to customize the subject as well as the body. And the DocuSign integration specifically is available for both self-hosted and Laserfiche cloud platforms now. So that is newer, where you can have workflow activities to incorporate into your DocuSign process in the cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and review my document. And because it's a contract, I do have 2 signatures that I'll have to go through. And as part of the integration, you can have it set up to follow whatever flow you want. So if you always wanted to go to your vendor prior to staff internally signing it, you can set that up. If you wanted to blast out to all of them simultaneously, you can set that up. So the integration gives you a lot of control for incorporating, automating the signature process throughout Laserfiche, especially if you're using DocuSign. So I have to do that once more. So now we're going to go through as the second signer and sign off on this agreement, and we'll be able to see that Laura Froyam had already signed off, so we can see that as we walk through it. So up here again, Laura's already signed. Now I'm going to sign it as Patrick. Finish. So while we wait for that document to get picked up by the integration, I just kind of want to go into the repository and again show you what's happened. So from that forms process or the task assignment process, I was able to click a button that brought me to my contract folder for that exact document. But if I come into the repository, we can see we've got contracts in process here. And we can see that Laserfiche Automation again is creating this folder structure. It's applying a unique vendor ID based on, again, the criteria that we set up. Maybe it uses the department that was selected followed by the date or, again, whatever criteria you want. And then as we go in here, we've got our unsigned contract as well as the request. But eventually, and it takes just a minute or two, we'll see a little green icon pop up here in our web interface letting us know that something has changed. And then we'll see that the contract for Burt's Bees was moved from contracts in process to active contracts. Additionally, we'll see within the folder that the folder structure gets updated based again on our standards and requirements. But we'll see the signed versions of the document as well as the DocuSign certificate of completion added back into the folder. So I'm just going to give that another minute to come through, and then I can kind of show you one other really neat part about automation tools you can use in Laserfiche. So I had initially shown you a Laserfiche form that's really great for collecting information. But we have seen a lot of organizations start to use Laserfiche forms for reporting. So you can query metadata from your Laserfiche system or other databases to provide you reports. So this is a contract report. Maybe all departments have access to this. Maybe, it's just procurement, however you want to set it up. But these are all of the active contracts within our repository, what their budgets are, which department it's for, with a quick link that will bring you directly to that contract folder. So you can get access to the contract information, the documents, the signatures, all of that. And then you can also build filtering into it. So if you want to search by a particular vendor or maybe a particular department, you can select that, and then it's going to narrow down your search results. So again, just another quick way to quick and user-friendly way to see the content within your Laserfiche system. So if I jump back into our repository, hopefully it's working right. Do a quick refresh. Go back into procurement. All right, so it's no longer in contracts in process. So if we go to our active contracts area, I have it sorted by the column header up here, last modified. So we can see created today is our Burt's Bees contract. We're going to go in there. And we've got a signed contract here. So it took that Word document, pushed it out to DocuSign for signature. Once it was signed, pulled it back in, and then we can see the signature detail that DocuSign provides up here at the top. So pretty cool. using integrations to collect signatures as a way to save time, not only people time, but also other costs associated with collecting signatures on contracts. All right, so we did the demo. Now we're going to talk a little bit about records management and records retention and how you can use that for cost-saving measures. You might be wondering how this saves you money. It does in a few ways. So let's talk about the physical records retention again. When a new paper document is brought in, it gets stored into a physical folder. That physical folder gets put into a box or on a shelf in a room somewhere. A person had to put it there. A person has to check on that paper regularly to ensure it's being maintained for the appropriate amount of time. So again, just imagine walking through those folders, combing through the boxes, your file cabinets, looking at every single piece of paper to see whether that's eligible for destruction or not. Since there are many papers scattered throughout many folders and desks and shelves, you can imagine as a records manager having to page through each of those files to see what's eligible for destruction can be really time consuming. And if we're talking about contracts, what if a specific contract gets an addendum extending the timeline of that contract, but it's not stored exactly next to its original contract? Just imagine that. How do you maintain retention appropriately on those physical documents without, I don't know, combing through every document, every folder, every time before you purge something? The stress of that, just like it hurts to think about. Well, now picture this. Within Laserfiche, you have the ability to use the records retention tools. And so you have the ability to bring in a digital file, apply a simple document type metadata field to the file, and based on that document type, the appropriate record series or retention schedule gets automatically applied to that document. Then instead of having to page through every single document, within your entire building, you just run a report that says, hey, which documents are eligible for destruction? And then you can use a keyboard shortcut to select all and delete those documents that are eligible for destruction. So even if your contracts are stored in different locations, Laserfiche still knows based on the retention schedule that gets applied to your files that this particular document is eligible for destruction. So Laserfiche Records Management gives organizations the flexibility to set up as many retention schedules as needed. So on the screen here, we can see that retention properties have been applied to this agenda packet. I'm doing air quotes over here within Laserfiche. And then in Laserfiche, we have the ability to click on the tabs where the metadata is to see the retention applied to that document. So if we click the tab, here's what shows up is this is our records retention that was applied to this document. Please note that you do have the ability to set up multiple retention schedules. This is just kind of one example, but either way, it's captured automatically based on the document type that we selected when we brought the document into the system. And then it's pushed into the retention schedule of 3 years and then destroy. So once the document is cut off, which means it's set to read only and nobody can make updates to this file, then it's in its retention. So cutoff dates can be specified based on the requirements of that document too. And so CDI, what we have done is build special workflow activities that automatically look for documents that are eligible for cutoff, and then we cut them off automatically. That is maybe one of the slightly more confusing parts of Laserfiche records management is you not only have to get it into the appropriate record series, but you also have to cut it off, which means, if we're thinking about a contract, typically contracts get cut off at the end of the calendar year, and then you have to maintain them for their 3 years, and then at that point you can destroy them. Or maybe a contract is set up at your organization to be cut off after the contract has expired. So once the contract has expired, then it's eligible for cutoff, and then it goes into its retention. So based on the metadata that gets set up on your document, you can easily manage your records retention. And that's something that our team is expertly skilled at helping you set up either at the onset when you're starting to add content into Laserfiche, or after the fact once you already have stuff in there and now you're ready to start implementing records management. Our team can help you walk through it. So we built those special activities that do some of these records managers actions automatically. And those, again, are the brochures that I included in the download section. So definitely take a look at those. And then one of my favorites, and this might be a reminder for some or new information for others, but another way to save time and money for your organization is by utilizing the Laserfiche Business Process Library. The Business Process Library has over 100 pre-configured automation processes that you can import into your system for free. So there's lots of options for accounting, finance, human resources, IT, legal, operations, and even standard design patterns. So for example, if you're pretty new to Laserfiche automation, you can use these design patterns to help you implement task assignments or task reminders, or even more complex things like building into your automation the ability to send out a calendar event invite via Microsoft Outlook. So these are pre-configured solutions that you can take advantage of for free, right in your system right now. So as you can see, Laserfiche is a super robust tool that really allows you to simplify many processes that can in turn save your team a ton of time on not only staff costs, payroll costs, but physical costs too, for things like paper and printer ink and, all those types of things. So I'm going to open it up to questions. If there are any questions, feel free to type them into the chat. I'm going to figure out how to open. As a reminder, all of the PowerPoint is available. I can go ahead and download it if you request it. The webinar is recorded and will be available through our YouTube site. And as an attendee or a registered attendee for this session, you'll automatically get those notifications. And then I just want to leave everybody again with some resources, both from Laserfiche Direct as well as our team. Another great resource for you to take a look at is the Laserfiche Solution blog. This gives you different ideas on how other organizations are using their systems. So you don't necessarily have to reach out to your reseller. You can take advantage of that blog to get some ideas. The Aspire training, the solution marketplace is much like what I went over, the business process designer, but it's got a lot more pre-configured automation pieces that you can import into your system. From the marketplace, some of the solutions within it are do cost money, but you can certainly find free ones as well. So again, this is all about cost savings. I would definitely take a look at that business process designer from the forms area first, and then check out the marketplace. And then, of course, we've got lots of CDI resources to help you. So don't hesitate to reach out to our team with any questions that you might have, or take advantage of any of these webinars or newsletters. And then I appreciate everybody's time today. I hope you enjoy the holidays. And again, don't hesitate to reach out with any questions you might have. Thank you so much for your time.